welcome to Society Academy.
We're your hosts, Cecilia and Caitlin.
So this is a show where we talk about issues in society and also just topics that will educate you.
And this month we are going to discuss hidden gems in Indonesia.
Yeah, and to help us this month, we have a host, a special guest, I guess, a co-host maybe. This month, our special guest is our vice principal, and he is also our biology teacher, and he travels around Indonesia on his bike. So shall we welcome him, Seth?
Yes, we shall.
Okay. And he's entering. Well, I think it'll take a while. You have to come more. Hi, sir. Can you see us? Mr. J?
Hi, sir.
Yes. Hi.
Hi, okay.
Good afternoon.
All right, now we can start. Okay, so...
Yeah.
So, okay, first of all, we're going to talk about the hidden gems in Indonesia. So, as you know, you like to travel around Indonesia with bike, and recently you just went to Ujung Genteng, am I right? I think during the term break, which happened last week.
That's right, last week.
Yeah, where is it located and what was it enjoyable?
Ujung Genteng is located in west coast of Java, close to Banten. From here, if you can go to Sukabumi, that takes around 3 hours. From Sukabumi, it's another 4 hours to the coastline. It's a beautiful beach where a lot of turtles come to lay their eggs. Nice people, very good food, and a comfortable stay.
Okay. So what did you do there?
There are beaches there. Normally, West Java beaches have dark sand, but Ujung Genteng is different. It has white sand there. So throughout the West Java coast, even though the majority is dark sand beaches, majority are dark sand beaches, there are occasionally white sandy beaches. One of them is Ujung Genteng. And maybe that's why these turtles prefer that area. There is a turtle conservation area there, so we can visit that. We can even release young turtles hatchlings into the sea. You can fish if you are interested in fishing. There's plenty of seafood available. There are so many small beaches all across to explore, but it requires a good motorbike because with car it's quite difficult. You can go up to Ujung Genteng with car, but if you want to explore and go into other isolated beaches, you probably will need a motorbike because the roads are not in very good shape.
Okay, so that's really good to hear. I think we have another question to solve.
So, next we travel on bike. Is it easy to travel on bike? And if yes, why do you prefer to use bike to travel?
Indonesia is that a lot of people use motorbikes here. Common mode of transportation in the city. Or with flight, you all might have done that. Easy to travel. Then I thought, what is in between? I mean, you fly over this landscape. How do I explore this landscape? And that's where the idea came up. And looking at the traffic situation in Indonesia, I thought maybe it's better to do with a motorbike. You get a real experience of the weather instead of sitting inside a car where there is an air condition and you're sitting inside a bubble. So I started exploring villages in West Java. Then I realized I can do better than that. 2016, I tried to go to Bali with motorbike from Bandung. It took me 12 days. Yeah,
12 days.
Bandung, 12 days. It was a really exciting trip. I have seen a lot of places. The villages are so beautiful that I realized I have to do this again. So in 2018, I decided to go to Bandung, Padang. In Sumatra. That took me 18 days, Bandung Padang.
8 days.
And in last December, I did the next part of that. I started from Padang and ended my trip in Medan.
Oh, so
So
that's like
back to your question.
far. And then you came back to Bandung afterwards with your bike.
No, I normally do it one way. For example, if I go from Bandung to Bali, I send the bike back from there.
That's what my
So
dad
back to your
did.
question, Cecilia.
He sent the bike to Bali actually, and he rode back here, I think. I think
Oh,
that's what he
wow.
did
Yeah,
last time. Yeah, it's like I think it's a thing with people who ride motorbikes. They just send their bikes over and they do a one-way trip. Okay.
exactly. We don't have the time to do it. Actually, the problem is if you do from Bandung to Padang, it take 18, 20 days. We only have holidays for 25 days. So
Yeah,
we
Yeah,
don't
that's
have
true.
time to ride it back.
yeah. So that's what just send it and it's one-way
Mhm.
trip. Okay, so we know that you travel around Indonesia. Can you mention that places that are very interesting and people rarely hear of? Like, where would you tell people to travel? Like somewhere rare and like somewhere like maybe like let's say we all hear about Bali, something that has like the quality of Bali, but we've never really heard of. That's like interesting.
Mm.
Uh, if you are talking about quality in terms of accommodation, staying facilities, majority of Indonesian tourist spots don't have that. They
Yeah.
have very limited accommodation. But I'm going to say a few names. Try to recognize these names. Dieng, um, Sumba, or
Also, but
within Sumba, for example, Air Terjun Tangedu, Beirinding, Brastagi, Sipisu. You may not have even heard about these places, but
Yeah.
trust me, these are beautiful places, absolutely wonderful, untouched natural beauty. But in terms of accommodation, almost all these places lag behind.
Yeah.
For example, when I went to Sumba, the road was in very bad condition. Um, you have to travel through dirt road to get to this waterfall called Tankedu. Miss Suleiman also did the same trip. But at the end, at the end of the trip, you get a beautiful sight, very beautiful waterfall, and it's worth all the trouble.
Yeah. I
The
think it's
so
like
it's
when
worth it.
you were hiking, I guess. Like you climb the mountain and then you see something that's really nice, and it's worth it in that way, kind of. All right, next question.
So the next question is that from your own experience, do you think that we should visit these places that you just recommend to us?
You must. I mean, I have a huge list of places that I have gone with motorbike on my screen, but unfortunately I can't share it.
Maybe you
It's a
can send
huge
it to
list.
us, like, and you can
Yeah,
just
I
send
can
it to us,
definitely
and
send
we'll
it.
like write it down somewhere.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can definitely send it to you with some photos. It's
Okay.
a huge list, but again, it depends on people's attitude towards it. Traveling in Indonesia offers a lot if you are up to it.
Just like the
Um,
nature wise,
People are
or
very nice.
like the
Not
culture,
only
the
not
nature.
only nature wise, the culture wise as well. The food is great. Every small city has its own culture, its own food. They're very tasty and interesting to check all these things. People are very friendly. I had this experience when I was traveling to through North Sumatra. I stopped in a warung to rest, and then the ibu was making nasi goreng, so I lie down to sleep for a while, and then she came out with a pillow. She said, jangan tidur di sana, pakai bantal aja."
That's really nice.
I'm a complete stranger. Yeah, I'm a complete stranger with my long nose and facial features. They know I'm not Indonesian. I'm riding a motorbike with a D number plate from Bandung. It's in North Sumatra. And yet she came up with such a nice gesture of bringing a pillow. It was really, really touching
So
for
like
me.
the
I mean, how
hospitality
people
is
welcome.
really nice. So
It's
people are
great. It's
really
great.
nice. That's really nice to hear, especially like when we're in Indonesia and like a lot of people, like, especially who are not from here, we don't really know what our culture is like, and I think it's just been passed down from generation to generation. So hospitality, I think that's really nice to think of. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so when you said those places, and I think we can skip this question. So I'm gonna skip to the next question. When you travel, do you prefer to travel in groups or alone?
I normally go with one motorbike because the problem with traveling in a group is that they already have a plan and we have to stick to that plan.
Yeah.
For me, I prefer to enjoy the view, the riding. So if I want to stop in a particular place, I will just stop, stay there for 2 days, and then move on.
So
So
it's
I
more
don't have a specific
customizable.
plan.
It's more
Pardon
customizable,
me?
basically.
Yeah, exactly. We can do whatever we want to do. The risk is that you're alone. Sometimes
Yeah.
I bring my friends with me, just one friend. Um, but you have a bit of risk there. If something happens, you're on your own to tackle it. But on the other hand, you can decide what you want to do. I can change directions.
So
If I'm
basically,
going
like
in one
a solo
direction,
traveler. So you're
Yeah,
like solo
exactly.
traveling. So like I've heard this debate for a while. Do you think that solo traveling is a bad thing? Especially like a lot of people online, they keep saying that there are a lot of influencers who just travel alone and they think that it's not fun. How do you convince other people that solo traveling is fun and it's safe?
Um, I meet a lot of people on the way. Every city, when I go, I meet people, and sometimes they help me see the places. For example, last year when I went to Bukit Lawang, Bukit Tinggi, I had a friend, a college student who is a tour guide. She came with me. She has shown me the city, the whole city, the culture, the food there, and I got a few more friends from there. And I ended up staying there for three nights. I was only planning to stay there for one night. I ended up staying there for 3 nights. Explored the nearby villages. So we get to expand our social society, actually, social community, by meeting more people.
All
If
basically.
you're up to it again, yeah.
Okay.
But the problem is with solo traveling, the biggest challenge is facing the fear of the unknown. We are going into a complete new place. We don't know what is there. So that fear is always there in your mind. We have to overcome that fear. We need to realize that in those places, people live there. And these people are very nice people. Unless you go and see them, you will never realize their culture. And because of the fear, if you don't go, we might end up missing something. So this is what motivates me to go and see places. And I've never felt bored.
So what basically it's getting to know the unknown and don't be scared of the unknown basically is what you're trying to say. Okay?
Um, yeah. Our ancestors used to travel a lot. When I travel through Java and Sumatra, I can see lots of temples, remains of lots of temples. And these temples have a close connections with India.
Yeah.
These temples were built in 400 BC, 500 BC. At that time, when there was no GPS, no roads, no motorbikes, people still used to travel. They used to cross these continents. They used to cross these oceans, came here, spread their culture, religion. So I feel that it's a shame that we are not using the facilities that we have nowadays to explore.
Yeah.
Right?
That's very inspiring. Sas, next question.
So the next question that we have is, as we know, you are a very busy person, being our teacher and being other students' teachers. So
And like a
when do you
positive
usually travel and how do you make time for it?
I travel during long holidays, specifically December. June holiday, I normally go back to India to see my parents. So in December, I get 1 month holiday, which I use for traveling. And then there are term breaks, which I normally travel in within Java. For example, Dieng, you can go from here to Dieng in 2 days, and 3 to 4 days you can do the whole trip. So during term break, I normally do short trips, like the one to Ujung Gendeng last week. It's a similar
you
one.
just plan ahead basically and then when the time comes you just immediately go there.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you have any tips or tricks traveling during the pandemic? I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and people keep saying, "Oh, we can't travel. We're stuck at home." And then you travel. So, do you have any tips and tricks for us to follow, like just in case we actually end up traveling somewhere?
Um, my trick is to avoid contacting any people. So I take my snacks with me. I take a flask with me with hot water in it, so I don't have to stop for coffee in every shop. I can make my own coffee in my motorbike. But ultimately, when you reach the destination, you have to stay in a hotel. You have to eat food from outside. So there is a bit of interaction. But I try my best to avoid interacting with a lot of people. And in villages like this, Ujung Gendeng, for example, or Santolo, these places are not very crowded. They are very isolated, so you don't see a lot of people there. Yeah.
Okay, so
The
basically,
risk of getting infection in the city is much higher than while traveling.
yeah. Okay. So the Spark team has some additional questions. So this is what we do is we have a meeting and then we write down a question. They write down the questions they want to ask people. So The first question the Spark team has is to mention the top 3 favorite places you visited in Indonesia.
Oh, the number one most beautiful place in Indonesia. It's not Bali. I will pick Sumba as the most beautiful place. Um, if you look at the whole province, definitely Sumba, followed by North Sumatra. North Sumatra is absolutely wonderful. The roads are in very bad condition, but the place is really, really beautiful. You must go and see Danau Toba, stay in Samosir Island, enjoy the scenery. It's a beautiful place. Um,
Okay.
you can also try Bukit Lawang. It's not really far away. I haven't explored Sulawesi. I know Sulawesi is way better than all these, and I'm planning a trip in this December from Bandung to Manado. That will be the longest of all the road trips. If pandemic allows me to do this, I'll drive from Bandung to Surabaya, then take the ship to Makassar, and from Makassar to Manado. That's a 25-day trip
Wow.
this December.
Wow.
I hope you make that journey. That sounds like a
Sulawesi
Yeah.
has a lot.
well,
So the second question
Yeah,
that the Spark team asked is, do you have any budgeting trip like tips on traveling?
yeah, especially when you're traveling
a
alone.
motorbike trip is
So when I mean thinking of it,
a
if you
motorbike trip is
you could split up the budget, but if you travel alone, like what's the budgeting with it? Is it more expensive, cheaper, or you know?
it's way cheaper than a normal flight-oriented trip because you don't need any transportation expenses. Fuel is very cheap here, so you save a lot of money for transportation. Accommodation, obviously, you need accommodation, but accommodation in villages are very cheap. You can get rooms for 100,000, 200,000. That's it. As long as you're not staying in really luxury hotels. I don't really worry too much about money. I would love to have company, but not because I want to share the expenses. I just want to have some company with me. But often people say you are gila banget to travel like that. I don't have the time to join for 20 days, 25 days. So I end up not getting company for these kind of trips. But financial wise, it's not a major problem. If I spend, let's say 10 million for a trip like this, it's definitely worth it. If I want to see Lake Toba, Bukit Lawang, Sibolga, and Bukit Tinggi in one go with a flight and car, it will definitely cost me 30, 40 million.
But like if you're doing
So I think financially we are saving a lot of money.
yeah.
I'm doing all this in one trip. In 25 days, I get to see a lot of places instead of seeing them separately.
Okay, so the next question is, what are your traveling necessities? What do you usually keep with you that you definitely, absolutely need when you're traveling?
Uh, where do I keep these things? Is that the question?
No, what are your traveling necessities?
Please repeat.
What are your traveling necessities?
Okay. Okay. All right. I got it. Important things to pack. Most important things, mosquito repellent. Very, very important that you take that because in villages, you have a problem with
I had a
mosquito.
feeling you would say.
Sunscreen is must. Raincoat is essential. Yes.
No, I just said I had a feeling.
Raincoat is essential.
No, please continue.
Yeah, raincoat is essential. You need a very good raincoat because it rains almost every day when you travel. At some stage, you experience rain, especially in December. So raincoat is really essential. I normally check my motorbike very well a few days before the trip. The engine oil will be changed, the tire pressure will be checked, the whole engine will be checked so that there is no issue with it. Other things to carry, I take normally 4 to 5 sets of clothes with me. And then after 3 days or 4 days, I will stop over in a major city, do the laundry. I'll stay there for 2 nights or 3 nights, relax, and then move to the next destination. There's no point in carrying a lot of clothes with me because it will only occupy more space.
Okay.
And you're traveling on bike, so you're trying to keep everything compact.
Correct. Yeah.
So the
I have
next
a box in
question.
the motorbike at the back, so that can carry quite a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So next question is that, do you have any tricks that can allow you to sleep anywhere?
So a lot of people.
This is in my plan B.
So they
This
when
is one of my plan B. Like if something happens, if I cannot reach a destination, uh, then I have to stay in between. Obviously, my immediate plan will be to contact the locals and stay in one of the homes. I never had to do this because I always plan like 4 to 5 hour trips every day so I can get to the next location. And if the weather is really, really bad, I postpone my trip. It has happened last year in Bukitingi where I was staying, and then it started raining. There was long so there was flood. So I decided I will stay in Bukitingi for a few more days. I get to interact with more people. And then once the longshore was done, then I started moving to the next destination. So the backup plan is obviously you should be ready to sleep anywhere. If the motorbike breaks down, you have to sleep in a home. And people, like I said, they're very welcome as long as you can convince them that you're a friendly person. You can sleep in the villages. Yeah,
oh
they're
that's
they're more than welcome to.
just
Hmm.
basically. Okay. The next question is, so far, have you ever encountered any hardships or any dangers while you're traveling?
No dangers for me. I have seen a few accidents on the way, and that makes me think that we have to be very careful. For me, driving is the most extensive collaborative work the world has to offer. Everyone in the road has to work together. It's a great teamwork. And if one person make a mistake, um, it leads to an accident and the punishment can be fatal. You may lose your life. So you have to follow the rules and make sure that you don't endanger your own life or nobody others' life as well. I've not come across any difficulties, weather-related issues, but I have plans. One of the biggest problem was beggars. Like people say, when I go to Sumatra, they say there are a lot of beggars. They will try to rob you. So every trip I have a plan. Like I have my wallet, my phone, my motorbike. If somebody stop me, I'll say, okay, you can take everything, no problem. But I had one SIM card pasted on my tie inside my pants with Dana installed in it and with two jutas stored in as a reserve in it. In case if something happens, if somebody steal my motorbike, uh, please understand that everything is insured. The whole trip is insured. So if I have a problem like that, an accident or a robbery, I will get all the money back. So I do insurance. I take insurance very serious before the trip. I pay around 300 to 400,000 for the insurance, so that um, you know any of these eventualities can be taken care of. So far, I have not come across any issues.
Okay, well, but you're well prepared, so if you even come up with any issues, you'll be totally fine. So, okay, where is your next travel destination in Indonesia, and why did you choose to go there?
I just mentioned it. Like I'm planning to go to Manado this December.
Okay,
If the pandemic allows me to do that trip, I will
Hmm.
definitely try Manado. If the pandemic becomes a problem, then I'll probably try to see something nearby. Maybe what is it? Teluk Kilwan Islands in Sumatra. Um,
yeah,
Possible. It's a 2 day trip from here.
okay.
Okay, so the next question is there a place where you would like to go with your students?
Oh, there are so many places like that. Um, there was this elephant sanctuary that I saw last year in North Sumatra, Padang Sidampuan, as it was near that place. They actually take care of captured elephants, um, elephants that were kept in captivity. It's a beautiful place. I was planning to do a field trip there this December,
Oh,
but
that's
you
so
know,
cool. But
yeah,
the
we
pandemic,
can't go there now.
so it's okay.
Hopefully
Till
soon.
next year. We're just gonna hope that the pandemic is over after, I think. I guess we've reached
Yeah.
the end. Here's the last question. So, what important life lessons can you learn from traveling?
Um, well, we have to understand the diversity. We have to accept the diversity. This culture, Indonesian culture especially, is very, very diverse. And the only way we can accept and understand the diversity is by traveling and meeting those people. And people are, even though they have different type of skin color, They speak different type of language. They eat different type of food. They may have a different religion. They are very good people. Deep inside, they're all very nice people. 99.9% of the individuals that I've come across are very good, open-minded people.
I think that's a very
So
hard thing to like accept, basically, especially when we're with the online world and like a lot of people hating on each other. I think it's really hard to remember that there are kind people in the world, and we have to remember that, especially when we're traveling and interacting with other people, I think.
yeah,
Okay, so that's
so
it this
that's
month.
that's what I've learned.
Okay, so that's it this month. I'm Caitlin, and that's Cecilia. See you at the next Society Academy. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you
Thank you,
for
Mr. J, for
inviting.
coming.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
J.